Hello friends, I am in my car. Can you tell my windows are dirty? If you are new to this channel, my name is Emily Paige Wilson. I am a poet and I also write novels in verse for young adult readers. And today I thought that I would shoot a writing vlog, which I haven't done in quite a while. So if you aren't new to my channel and you've been following along with my writing vlogs, you'll know that I'm on submission with my Hurricane Florence book, and I also earlier this year finished the first draft of another novel in verse, which I'm calling my Bigfoot project. So I've currently been on submission, what is it? It's August 15th. I've currently been on submission for my Hurricane Florence book for I think like almost 10 months, y'all. But what I have figured out is that I need to rewrite a lot of my Hurricane Florence book. And you might be saying,
well, Emily, shouldn't you have figured this out before you went on submission?
and I would say, yes, you would think. So to make a long story short, and also to be vague enough that I'm not giving anything away, I have been feeling very anxious ever since being on submission. And I feel as if there's almost been, I've been putting out like this energy blockage, not to get too woo-woo, but I really do feel like I have been blocking my energy and not being excited about the idea of being on submission because I've been harboring these concerns about my project. My project is pitched as a modern day retelling of Harriet the Spy told in the style of the poet X. It's based on my experience living through Hurricane Florence in Wilmington, North Carolina. So as a Harriet the Spy retelling, I have a young protagonist. Her name is Millie. She's the weather woman of her high school newspaper, and she wants so much to be the editor. She wants that so badly. She feels like she's ready for that responsibility. She wants to take on that role, break challenging stories that matter. And then Hurricane Florence sweeps along, and she learns that somebody close to her made a mistake that could have been dangerous, could have impacted the safety of citizens when the storm comes in. And so the crux of the story is she going to break this story or not? Is she going to run the risk of essentially like putting this person on blast, even if they did the best, they made the best decisions to the best of their ability with the given resources that they had? So the character in question, the one that kind of goes on public, like the trial of public opinion essentially, is a local law enforcement officer, because I needed somebody who would have stayed in the town during the hurricane and who would be responsible for the safety of other people. What I have been concerned about though in drafting this, I began drafting the story in February 2019. The more that time passed and the more that we were having conversations about police reform and police defunding, especially in light of Black Lives Matter and the murder of George Floyd, I really started to question if a sheriff, if a local law enforcement officer was the right character through which to tell this story. Because I knew that I want the emotional arc of my protagonist to be, you know, overeager, very ambitious, does something that she thinks is right, and then maybe realizes, oh, this didn't have the intended effect that I want. Maybe this isn't actually what I was trying to achieve. And I also wanted to explore the themes of social media and pile-ons and how I think that's really bad for people's mental health, like as an adult, me, but then also just young people in general, young adults. While I want to have that still be the narrative arc, while I still want to explore those themes, my concern is that as long as the character through who I am exploring these themes is a local law enforcement officer, and don't get me wrong, you know, the sheriff's office and police officers and the National Guard were a huge part of hurricane safety efforts and relief, and I am very grateful to everybody who contributed to the community safety. Hurricanes are scary. Natural disasters are really scary. You know, we didn't know if we were going to have a home to come back to, and we were just renters, but we evacuated for 11 days. So I am very grateful to all of the people who contributed their time and stayed in shelters and came to help with relief and did rescues and evacuations. But that's not the scope of the conversation that I want my book to have. I want my book to focus on the larger questions of government funding and why we are constantly so unprepared. Our infrastructure, our shelters, our resources, our communication lines. For example, in the book near the end, the characters start to look at the South Carolina state budget the actual budget for 2018 when Hurricane Florence hit. And y'all, when I tell you how much more money was spent on rifles for the sheriff's office for traffic patrol instead of hurricane funding, I don't know if you can hear that. I'm like tapping on my steering wheel because it made me so frustrated. It's like, we know climate change is going to keep getting worse, and we know that hurricanes ravage the coast all the time, and there's just so little funding. You know, I've been reading the Senate report after Hurricane Katrina, and it's sickening how many of the same problems we still have 15 years later. And while I still want Millie, my protagonist, to go through that kind of Harriet the Spy narrative, that story of, okay, well, I've said something, it's true. Did I accidentally hurt somebody though? Is this the reporting that I really wanted to do? I still want my protagonist to go through that. I still want to explore questions about the power of social media and its relationship to journalism and how sometimes those lines can get blurred. But I realized that if I have the person, the character who's kind of on trial by public opinion, if I have them be a police officer, that conversation bleeds into the larger national conversation that we're having right now in a way that I think might not actually align with my social values. In light of supporting Black Lives Matter and thinking that we do need to answer these really difficult questions of like, why are we not funding other government resources that would help prevent the mass incarceration of Black men and poor people in this country? Why do we have so many guns in this country all the time? How do we work to break down racialized bias in an institution that historically has its roots in slave patrols? I didn't want to write a narrative that makes it seem like the most important thing at stake is this one person's reputation, if that makes sense. I hope that that makes sense. And maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe some people can be like,
Emily, you are so neurotic. You're so in your head.
and I mean, like, okay, first of all, yes, but that's just my personality.
So all of that to say,
10 months into submission, I had already asked my agent, hey, I'm feeling some type of way about this book. I feel like it's focusing way too much on like the guilt or innocence of one local law enforcement agent, which is not the conversation that I want to have. I want it to be about community safety. I want it to be about government resources. I want it to be about rebuilding. I want it to be about, you know, this young girl figuring out, how do I use my voice in the name of truth, and how do I practice journalism to my own ethical standards when I being my protagonist, although I guess I as a writer, I'm still learning and figuring out what that means to me. So I had already asked her a few weeks ago if I could do some edits, and I like powered through draft 3, and now I'm realizing, F it all, I'm gonna have to do draft 4, which is frustrating, y'all. It's so frustrating to feel like you're so close but so far away. So what I'm gonna do is, not much is going to change in terms of the plot, but the profession of the person involved, the one who's going to be like on public trial by media, trial by public opinion, they're not going to be a local law enforcement officer. They're still going to be involved in the shelters, the like disaster shelters in the town, but they're not going to be involved with local law enforcement. I'm frustrated. I'm going to have to rewrite quite a large part of it. Like today, the footage you were seeing today, you know, I'm combing through page by freaking page, and there's foreshadowing that I have to get rid of. That was really tightly written, and I'm like PO'd about it.
can I get pissed off?
Am I gonna get flagged? Yeah, like I'm frustrated about the fact that I have to rewrite this. And I reached out to my agent and I asked her if we could have a phone call, only to find out that she's gonna be on vacation for a month. So, you know, I'm trying to be positive. I went through like 2 days where I got really frustrated. I like cried. I was like, I'm done. But then I just like, buck up, kiddo. I mean, what better time to try to rewrite this book when your agent's already on submission, or your agent's already on vacation. It's gonna be slow. And I think that this is more important, that I write the book that I am trying to write. I'm trying to remind myself, like, you should take all the time you need if this is going to be your debut. And you should tell the story you want to tell. I think it is going to require some rewrites. So, you know, this will be the 4th draft that has structural change. There are many smaller drafts for things like adverbs and voice and characterization and like cohesiveness. It's gonna be the 4th draft, which the number 4, the word for FOUR, like the number, is actually in the title. So maybe that's appropriate.
Maybe I should have seen this coming all along.
We went on submission October 13th, 2020. I would really love to have this draft be up and running and like 2 editors by October 13th of this year. So that's 2 months. We'll see what happens. I'm about 7,000 words in. The draft is a little bit more than 35,000, so that's 20%. The first like quarter or a third, there's not gonna be major changes until the midpoint. I mean, the midpoint is really when I'm gonna have to rewrite the book. Hello friends, so it is Monday the 16th. Does that sound right? I'm so bad about remembering the dates when I'm vlogging, but I did some yoga after work and then I sat down and I moved through maybe like 5,000 more words or like 4,500 more words. So I'm at about 12,000 words into the rewrite, which is 1/3 of the project, which on one hand is really exciting because that's, you know, feels like an important mile marker, be like 1/3 of the way through, but at the same time, most of what needs to be rewritten doesn't actually occur until the midpoint, until halfway through. So I'm not gonna be able to keep up that pace of being able to go through 4,000, 5,000 words a day, especially on work days. But, you know, we're making progress. There was one scene that I had to rewrite, put in some foreshadowing for what's gonna happen now in this draft as opposed to what was happening in the last draft. I'm gonna put a pause on editing for today. I don't know if I'm gonna have time to do edits tomorrow. I'm gonna try. But I have to be on campus all day tomorrow and then I have therapy right after work, so we'll see. But we're gonna have pizza for dinner tonight, homemade pizza. If y'all watched my older writing vlogs where I was writing my Bigfoot project, not my Hurricane project, my boyfriend makes homemade pizza and that's just like the perfect de-stress meal. And so he's gonna make cheese pizza and we're gonna put like hot honey on it and basil that I grew from seeds. Look at how good my basil plant's doing, y'all. Look at her. The rosemary I grew from a starter. The basil, that's all me. It's all me.
By me, I mean Mother Nature, but like, look.
My book's not going well. At least my basil plant is going well. Okay, point of view, you're on a cooking show. You present this to the judges. The judge is Gordon Ramsay. What does he say?
What is that? It looks like pigs. Get that off my table.
Hello friends, so it is the next day. It is Tuesday. If you saw that last clip, the pizza got demolished. Bless Eli's heart. He went to take it out of the oven and he burned himself and he dropped the pizza and was very distraught over it. I know we were joking in the clip that you saw, but he was so mad earlier, but it still tasted good. It was just like eating a lasagna. So I am actually back in my office now. I have all day meetings today. It's the first time that I'm working back in my office all day since March 16th, 2020. So I'm on my lunch break. I snuck back to my office. I'm going to try to get some more editing done. I realized I don't think that I was very clear yesterday when I said that I like powered through 4,000 words. I'm not actively rewriting 4,000 words. I'm going through vignette by vignette and making sure that essentially at this point, just anything that I'm foreshadowing about the character who's the sheriff's deputy, I'm going back and I'm making sure that anything that I'm foreshadowing about the character of the sheriff's deputy and his role in the shelters, I'm removing that and making it about this new character. And so a lot of the active rewriting probably isn't going to come until the midpoint. So I just wanted to be clear about that I didn't just bust out like 4,000 words after work. But I'm just gonna get some work done on my lunch break before we resume our meetings, and I will check back in with you guys later. So I lied to y'all earlier. I made it about 2,000-ish words, like 2,400, and I'm definitely at an impasse where I'm going to have to rewrite, like actively rewrite. So we'll see. We'll see if I get to that tonight or if probably pick up on it Wednesday. We are about 14,000 words into draft 4 and we're starting to get into the thick of it. But now I have meetings to go back to. I just wanted to update you guys, so I will check in sometime soon. Hey friends, so it is Thursday. It's after work. It's that part of the day where my eyebrows are fading off. Y'all know that part of the day? There's nothing left. So I am, depending on if this draft is also 35,000 words, I am officially past the halfway mark. Woo! We are into Act 2B at this point. We've also hit 17,500 words, which is half of 35,000. We are at the point now though where like every single scene might have, or not every single scene, but there's gonna just have to be so much that is rewritten. I'm not feeling as downtrodden about it as I was earlier when I had to make the decision to do the rewrite, because I'm feeling a lot better about this new character who we're gonna fixate on instead, who my protagonist in, you know, that kind of Harriet the Spy style knows a secret about this person. Is she gonna reveal it or not? How is it gonna be received online, in the town? What's gonna be the fallout of telling the story if my protagonist chooses to? And I think it's really widening the scope of the story in a way that I hope is successful. It brings in a lot more elements of climate change and government responsibility, and it shifts it away from just being about local law enforcement, like I said earlier. So I'm excited about it. I also think this new character is just kind of cool. I think that she is an interesting character. I think she's complicated. And I went on a walk this morning. I always go on my morning walks. And I met this little black cat, and I will insert, if I still have it, I'll insert a video I took. I bent down to tie my shoe, and I heard in the bushes next to me, I heard the little bell and a collar, and I knew, I was like, oh no, there's an animal in there. And the branches were rustling, and all of a sudden this little black kitten pounced on my shoes, and she was so cute. And the name on this little kitten's collar is the name of my character. So I consider that to be the universe saying that this is a good sign. But from here on out, it really is just more, we're just gonna have to keep rewriting, like actively rewriting, which, you know, is a little bit frustrating, but you know, what's a few more weeks or a few more months of just paying attention to the craft and doing due diligence to the story. You know, it'll all be worth it, I think, if the storytelling is better, if the themes are better, if I'm making sure that everything aligns with my personal beliefs as well. Yeah, hopefully it'll all be worth it and it'll pay off when we get back on submission, and one day I'll be able to share the story with you guys. Good morning, everybody. It is Saturday. I think it's the 21st. If this looks familiar, it's because I just finished shooting a YouTube video. Well, I mean, is that redundant? A YouTube video? I just finished shooting a video, which should already be up. I shot the How I Got My Poetry Collection book deal, which I will leave in the cards. After lunch today, I'm going to go to a coffee shop and I'm going to work on the Hurricane Florence project revisions. I did hit the 20,000 word mark yesterday, and so I feel like things feel real now. Like I am actually gonna get a fourth draft of this book done, and it's gonna happen. We are gonna get there. This is why I really like the Save the Cat method, because while some scenes are requiring extensive rewrites, it's not the actual structure that's changing. I'm changing out a character and I'm changing out a lot of description and dialogue, but the skeleton hasn't changed very much. I'll be curious to see if the word count remains the same, so we will see. I also borrowed the audiobook of Harriet the Spy from my Libby app, and that's been fun. I was listening to it a little bit this morning. And I'll listen to it on my walk over to the coffee shop later this afternoon. But I haven't read that book, obviously, since I was a child. You know, Harriet's voice is very spunky, very funny, but there are a lot of like really unflattering characterizations of the people that she meets. And I knew that there were some of them, right? Because that's why she doesn't want her notebooks to be revealed. But I didn't remember how they're mean. They're really unkind, actually. which is not what I remembered. So it's just interesting re-listening to that in 2021 as an adult, as opposed to when I would have been reading it as a child. But I wanted to revisit that text just to remind myself of what happens in the community, kind of the backlash when her notebooks get revealed, when the content gets exposed, and then how she grows as a person and how she tries to remedy the situation. So I'm going to be listening to that for the next few days as I continue to work on edits. I really have been loving spending my Saturday afternoons in the coffee shops for the past few weeks. It just makes me, something about that process just makes me feel human, and it makes me feel fully realized. It's like just the most enjoyable time to sit down and to give myself uninterrupted extended time to work on a project. So that's where we are today. Hit the 20K mark yesterday. Very excited about it. So I will check in with you guys at the coffee shop, or there will be B-roll footage. Hello friends, so I am back from the coffee shop. How cute was that little yellow balloon? If I save the footage, there's a little yellow balloon at this, or like on the ceiling of the coffee shop, and I have been working for an hour and I didn't even notice it, except for the fact, or I wouldn't have noticed it, but there was this little girl
It was so cute.
right next to me, and she kept like sliding over to my side of the, not the table, we were at different tables because of social distancing. But anyway, she kept trying to like slide over. You know how kids will, she was maybe 2 or 3. I think she was just trying to test the limits of our mother's patience. But anyway, she was the one who saw the little balloon, and it was just such a cute, sweet reminder to, I mean, not to sound like a Hallmark card, but you know how people are like, oh, always look up. Anyway, adorable, stinking adorable. You guys, I am at the 25,000 word mark. This is why I love Save the Cat so much. I know it's not the only way to structure a story. I know it's not the only way to tell a narrative. I actually just finished reading Safia El Hillo's novel in verse, Home is Not a Country. I believe that's the title. I finished reading that this morning, and that narrative was a frame narrative, and I thought it was really effective. I liked it a lot. But I love Save the Cat because I am at the part where I'm at the part of the novel where I am having to rewrite, but it's not as structural. I'm not messing around with the structure as much as I thought I would have to, because I'm changing the character out. I'm changing a character out, so conversations are different, but the majority of the scenes can stand. Bless. And I feel like, okay, there's less than 10,000 words, maybe a little bit more, maybe 11,000. We can do this. Like, I started this vlog feeling like I could not write a 4th draft, like it was just going to be the metaphorical spiritual death of me. But now I'm feeling like, okay, we are close, we can do this, and that is such an exciting feeling. I was watching Lindsay Puckett's video about how she went on submission, and she definitely had the unicorn experience, like went to auction, seems like her book got picked up really quickly. I am not having that experience, but it made me excited to go back on submission. I mean, technically I'm still on submission. We're not off submission. We're just not putting out any more, we're not sending to any new editors. And I really appreciate your time so much for hanging out with me while I am rewriting this novel. I am hopeful and optimistic that I will get to share it with you guys. Maybe not soon. Traditional publishing is not quick. But I am excited and I appreciate your time so much. I know my time is important, your time is important, and if you're choosing to hang out and be on this journey with me, I really appreciate it, because you could be doing other things. You could be writing. So I hope this doesn't distract from your writing time, but when you need a break, I hope that following along with this writing journey is entertaining, informative, maybe getting that natural highlight. It's a little hot in here. I'm sweating my blue eyeliner off. So I will be back later with part 2, where we will hopefully finish editing this novel, the 4th draft. Hello friends. So it is Saturday, August the 28th. I have been a bad YouTuber because I was assuming that I was going to film rewriting my book while I'm on submission in 2 parts, but then I went a week without vlogging any of the editing, and also I just really want to power through and get it done. So I've been doing a lot of work and I'm so close to being finished. I think today I can just power through it. So I'm gonna go to the coffee shop, but I'm unsure yet if this is all gonna be one long vlog or if I'll split it up into 2. Maybe I'm filming this on the 28th and I might use this as like an outro to the footage I already shot. I don't know, who knows? But we are going back to the coffee shop. Maybe that balloon will be up there from last week. Probably not. This is just my favorite time of the week now, is going and having these really creative sessions and just these really long steady breaks of editing. It is making me feel rejuvenated about the project, but I just want it done so badly. I'm gonna go now. The heat wave has broken. It is so nice here. So I'm gonna walk to my coffee shop and hopefully we will be done with edits today. Hey guys, so it is Monday, it is August the 30th. I was a bad vlogger and did not wrap up my Saturday coffee editing session, but we did finish. We finished the draft, closed out at a little bit more than 34,000 words, so I think I shaved off a little bit more than 1,000. And that is to my agent. She actually did email me this morning and said, you know, the premise sounds good. She'll read it as soon as she can, but she's still on vacation. Hopefully she actually does think that the premise change sounds good. She could just be being nice because she's a nice person. But I imagine she's probably going to take some time to read through it. I have some vacation time coming up in September and then October, and she also is on vacation now. So I imagine she will read through it and then she'll probably have some type of notes, hopefully not very many, before we get back on the submission train and send out this new draft. But I definitely feel much better about it. I think the conversation has opened up. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me as I went through this journey. I did not think I was gonna have to rewrite this book this many times, but that's okay as we get better as artists and we become more thoughtful and more nuanced thinkers too. It's okay to make sure that your work is reflecting the best of what you know. So what I probably will do is, once we're back on submission again, I'll probably just film that process behind the scenes, and then whenever we hear news, you know, obviously with submission, it's either like, oh, you know, once the book deal's announced, you can publish, you can talk about it, or, you know, we don't want to think about this, but on the off chance that the book doesn't go anywhere, I'll still share that journey with you guys, because I think that both possibilities are just a part of the process, and I think it's helpful to hear and see and talk freely when you can, when you're not actually on submission, about the process. Let me know how your writing is going down below. How many times have you had to revise or edit completely a project that you're working on? Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you guys again for hanging out. I will see you next time. Bye.